The current date is Saturday, April 5th, 2025. It's currently 7:19 p.m. as you can verify here. This is the current date and time for documentation purposes. And what you are looking at, all of the evidence that I'm going to review now with regard to understanding and rectifying a lot of the propaganda and misinformation that has been parroted to us literally by our own government, those of us who are in the United States of America and who are witnessing the documentation and exposing both demonic activity and the criminal surveillance system that is in operation throughout the United States of America. I am in California, that is Southern California, where I am subject to what is ordinarily referred to as gang stalking. I have referred to it while incorporating the fact that it is a federal offense committed by the U.S. government that is engaging in this criminal system throughout the states, and I've referred to it as federal group stalking and monitoring. And this is the website where all of the evidence is currently available. The evidence is in the form of that which you are necessarily proving what it is your allegations are. And the proof is in literally the environment where surveillance is underway. And it is the evidence of what is domestic terrorism and psychological torture that is practiced throughout the United States. And it is underway in California. So again, this is the website where all the documentation is available. If you go under the look tab, and all the documentation is organized by year. And the folder that is referred to as the people of the state, this is evidence that reveals the people of the state as I have documented them, those who are in my bloodline, those who were formerly associated with me in my social circle that are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And it includes to those that may even have a position in government as they were engaged in gang stalking me. And I still remain subject to the pattern of conduct. Those third party and state actors remain engaged in the pattern of conduct that I remain subject to, just like you would prosecute any other criminal conspiracy. The government is engaged in the unlawful and inhumane criminal conspiracy of gang stalking an American citizen, and it is an ongoing pattern of conduct. So this is the website, and also this is the YouTube channel where the evidence is systematically being published online for exposure, but this is also the social media platform with regard to prosecuting the government, which is a necessary tool where the government itself and the people of the state are a part of the criminal pattern of conduct. So wide exposure is for the public good, and it's also necessary when the government itself is the criminal. Okay, so this is the website where you can see that, and this is the evidence that you will be looking at, and it is available for you to look at online. So for the first document, this is video documentation revealing what is the pattern of conduct with regard to directed light. Directed light is that which is a supernatural occurrence. Directed light has nothing to do with the light source, as referred to as the sun. It is something that is a distinct method of identifying the criminal pattern of conduct that is incriminating the government, and the government that is acting vicariously, who are the people of the state who are in the shoes of the government. They are under no circumstances private citizens in the United States where the government's exploiting the Constitution, where the government is abusing it for purposes of violating the human rights and constitutional rights of American citizens. And it is shown through, proven by the maintenance of an environment such as the stalking under the fake sun. But this pattern of conduct with regard to stalking via light, the nature of that conduct is within a very heavily documented pattern of conduct, and it is also demonic. Okay, it's a supernatural occurrence, something that I can't do it. I can't make these things happen. I merely point my camera and I document it. And as I'm in the midst of documenting, often I am capturing within my video documentation the evidence of supernatural occurrences such as engineered light, which is not sunlight. Sunlight does not behave in the ways in which I've captured in these videos. These videos are pointing to what is the component to federal group stalking and monitoring. Gang stalking is the pattern of conduct whereby the government is not only engaged in criminal surveillance, the government is engaged in an ongoing component with regard to psychological warfare. And this is relevant to what is actually the cause of things that are misinterpreted, misinformation, propaganda, especially in this country that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, and falsely depicting what is actual mental illness. And much of that which is mental illness is caused by that which is spiritual in nature. And that is something that the gang stalking entity itself is intentionally disregarding and not acknowledging in order to falsely depict the character of those who are subject to that system. And the stalking with light activity is something that is built into what is the pattern of conduct where gang stalking is underway. And it is also speaking to and referencing that which is simultaneously coexisting with what is the psychological warfare, where the demon-possessed are engaged in an ongoing campaign, which is revealing what is the psychological warfare, the attack of your mind, when you are experiencing things that, such as thoughts that do not belong to you, when you are ever thinking of songs, for example, music that perhaps you don't even know, music that is not something that you are recollecting, that you are at the present time, at whatever moment that you're experiencing such thoughts, referred to as intrusive thoughts. This is an example of what is psychological warfare, and it is satanic. It is a spiritual attack, and spiritual attacks occur in your mind, where people experience things such as suicidal ideation. People experience things such as disparaging thoughts about yourself, even thoughts about other people, where they are being injected into your mind, and that is a spiritual attack. And you are vulnerable to such attacks when you are not covered in the blood of Christ. By covered in the blood of Christ, meaning you do not know Christ Jesus, who died on the cross and rose from the dead, in order that you would be saved from your sins, and that you would be protected from the enemy, who is Satan, who is a spirit, who is attacking human beings. And outside of that spiritual covering that is only found in salvation in Christ Jesus, you are vulnerable to such attacks, and also the curses that are underway. And that's what is relevant to the entity that is both gang stalking and then engaging in what is criminally defaming the targeted individual. And now the criminal pattern of conduct is relevant to how the practice of medicine is being executed, when it's not actual practice of medicine where you are diagnosing some sort of mental illness, when it is something that is capable of being manufactured, where one is being spiritually attacked, where one is being gang stalked, and they are put into the position of one that is mentally ill under, again, the existence of unconstitutionally vague legislation that is deliberately crafted for that unlawful and unjust result, where you are not actually suffering from any such mental illness as it is defined by the entity that is engaging in the system throughout the country, and keeping people against their will in facilities where they are being subject to psychological torture. The same pattern of conduct. This is no practice of actual medicine. This is no diagnosis of actual mental illness, when what is necessary needs to be spoken to. And it is directly relevant to the ways in which the entity is both gang stalking you and engaging what are supernatural occurrences such as stalking with light. And you are also simultaneously subject to what is the ongoing psychological warfare, where you are being attacked in your mind, spiritually attacked. When you're being attacked in your mind, that's a spiritual act, okay? It's a spiritual act of violence, and it is also something that is designed to cause the ordinary target individual to question their own sanity, to question their experiences, to question what it is that they know and those around them. This is pursuant to the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking monitoring, where the entity engages in that in order to falsely depict the character, even where that target individual would concede and succumb to it and actually question their own mental sanity. You are not insane. You are not suffering from any such mental illness. You are a fragile and complex human being, however, and you are subject to what are attacks on your mind while you are actually subject to gang stalking. And this is what is also revelatory. This is also what is educational with regard to the state's pattern of conduct of federal group stalking monitoring. I want to make sure that this is understood, because I'm going to show you some supernatural things where I'm subject to the pattern of conduct where the entity engages in not only gang stalking by stalking with impossible light, which has nothing to do with the fake sun, which is a proven fact. It also coexists with the entity engaging in what is the hallmark stalking and monitoring and using things as incredible as helicopters, like the LAPD are doing, while I'm being gang stalked in the specific environment in the ways in which I'm showing here in June and what is May and June of 2024, where the entity is keeping the fake sun over Alvarado Gardens, over me at Alvarado Gardens for the duration of the day, both rising and setting, and even at nightfall, where you will understand the engineered light, the stalking with light conduct has nothing to do with the fake sun. It is understanding what is surveillance that we are all subject to, and within the system of surveillance that's underway in the United States, which is satanic, you are subject to and you are vulnerable to what is also the misinformation regarding your ability, your vulnerability in a violation for constitutional rights, where American citizens have been and are currently subject to what are criminal acts of defamation, where the entity that is engaging in surveillance throughout this country is engaging in what is satanic in every regard and abusing the use of the medical profession to falsely depict the character of those who are under spiritual attack. Now, there are those that practice medicine that are ignorant about this. It doesn't make it less unethical. It doesn't make it less false with regard to any sort of diagnosis, and it doesn't make it less criminal with regard to the rights of an American citizen. But there are those that are ignorantly engaging in this, and there are those that are maliciously doing so, like the state of California is. Okay, falsely depicting the character of American citizens while they are exhibiting mental illness by gang stalking and the supernatural occurrence of what is the documented acts within a pattern. That is a supernatural occurrence that's happened on more than one occasion. I have documented it. Not only that, I've documented it at more than one venue where I am subject to this POC, both at Ontario, at Woodside Senior Apartments, and by the defendant who you can hear gang stalking in the background. It is also engaging in what is the pattern of conduct while I'm in Los Angeles, where the LAPD and the people of the state, LAPD is a reference to the state government, that is engaging in the United States POC that's happening throughout this country. And it is shown through what is that pattern of conduct that is underway. That pattern of conduct that is underway, where you are aware of what is the fake sun documentation, which has nothing to do with the engineered light that I captured in these videos. This engineered light, this conduct of stalking, monitoring someone with such means, supernatural means, is that which is coexisting with an ongoing campaign that is demonic, attacking the mind of that person who is being gang stalked in order to falsely depict their character. That is manufacture what is mental illness that does not in fact exist on the part of that target individual. And also it is that which is designed to psychologically harm someone, psychologically torture them to the extent that they actually react in one way or another, perhaps act out in one way or another, engage in behaviors when they're subject to such an unjust and inhumane experiment such as gang stalking. And you have a complex and fragile human being, a delicate mind, that is going to, it's reasonably anticipated that a human being will somehow respond, perhaps with violence, perhaps with acting out in one way or another, and by what we would ignorantly respond to as this person is mentally ill. They're freaking out. They're yelling at people. They're acting out against people that they don't even know. This is the entity that is falsely depicting that behavior when they're being gang stalked, and they are maligning the reputation and the liberty rights unjustly, unconstitutionally, when that is actually not mental illness where the pattern of conduct is underway. And it's also not the diagnosis of any actual mental illness when the entity is targeting American citizens and subjecting them to things such as stalking with engineered light, which is a supernatural occurrence, which is reasonably calculated to cause any person to question themselves, question their sanity, question those around them. That's not mental illness. That's psychological warfare, psychological torture. And that is going to result in what any person would result in. The ordinary target individual on whose behalf I am advocating is typically subject to this, and they even concede mental illness, or they are kidnapped against their will when the entity manufactures mental illness on paper, where there is no such actual mental illness. And the entity that is gang stalking through high school graduates, like the lessee inside of this unit at Woodside Senior Apartments, this is the criminal facilitation of that very pattern of conduct, and it is going to result in the actual mental illness by diagnosis of those gang stalkers who are psychopaths, by proof of their criminal engagement in the POC, and their mental illness is exhibited through the amplified audible activity, through stalking in things such as planes and helicopters, through stalking in what is engineered light designed to psychologically torture an innocent person that they are targeting, and they are specifically targeting. That's why that whole environment, which is supernatural, is present for that criminal and inhumane purpose. That is psychopathic. That is identifying actual mental illness. That is mandating the change of laws in this country, where people are sitting around kidnapped right now. And this is what the entity sought to target me with, try to maim my character, my reputation, personally and professionally, by gang stalkers who are demon possessed. It is demonic activity. It is the satanic attack that is also happening in the mind, and it is not mental illness. You are subject to what is attacks in your mind, and those are spiritual acts, which again, the medical practice disregards. And they call that which is a spiritual attack on a perfectly healthy mind that is subject and is vulnerable to deterioration, where you are not aware of it, where you even accept it, those things that are happening in your mind. For example, if you are listening to voices in your mind telling you to harm other people, okay, you're engaging in what is that which is going to affect the behavior of another person. And it is that which is able to maintain an ongoing impact on the behavior, on the mind state of that person. Eventually and inevitably, especially when you are not covered by the blood of Christ. Okay, so this is speaking to the necessity of salvation in Christ Jesus. It is also serving to prosecute for federal group stalking and monitoring. It is serving for the diagnosis of actual mental illness, where that malicious entity is projecting mental illness on those who are perfectly healthy, as I'm advocating on behalf of those who are subject to this criminal system throughout the country. And it is also speaking to the national security threat, because you have what are violent sex offenders, those who are violent murderous predators who are engaging in this criminal, which is psychopathic, a criminal pattern of conduct which is psychopathic, having an appetite to target another, and having no legitimate basis as a government program nor as individuals collectively. Okay, and this is all relevant to the entity that is gang stalking, and the stalking with light conduct is the direct evidence of it. The following video is documented on May 29, 2024 inside of my bedroom in Los Angeles while I am facing Alvarado Street. It is captured at 6:25 p.m. where the fake sun is documented for the duration of the day, and at the end of the day I am capturing this fake sun in alignment, and this fake sun is distinct from also the evidence of what is gang stalking, with the engineered light that fills my bedroom on the ceiling and the flashing dynamic engineered light, which is psychologically harmful. This is coexisting with the psychological warfare that the demon-possessed, such as Jason Isaac Field, such as Tracy Banks, the demon-possessed Ontario Police Department. These are people that are part of satanic witch covens that are engaging in spiritually attacking you while gang stalking you in order to kidnap, murder you, steal from you, however the entity is seeking to derive any benefits from an American citizen in the United States that's being targeted. And this is speaking to what is spiritual warfare. This is speaking to demonic activity. Where you're looking at light that was appearing above my head, just like you see here. This is impossible light activity, multiple shadows. The sun that's over me at the same exact location, you see the engineered light flashing inside of my bedroom. This is exhibiting the demon possession of those that just flew over me in a helicopter. All right, so I am capturing this, but I want you to see it without this tool where it is showing the play button. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this again. Where you're looking at light that was appearing above my head, just like you see here. This is impossible light activity, multiple shadows. The sun that's over me at the same exact location, you see the engineered light flashing inside of my bedroom. This is exhibiting the demon possession of those that just flew over me in a helicopter. And that is the LAPD who I'm referencing flying over by helicopter. And this is video that is captured in its totality, the timestamp being May 29, 2024 at 18:2500. This is a snippet of that video concentrating on the stalking with light, which is a behavioral pattern within the entity that is gang stalking. Okay, I'm going to get the next video, which is this video right here. And I'm going to go ahead and take it out of full screen so that you can watch it without the yeah, here you go. All right, it is currently, oopsie, let me show you this. Very exclusive. And the environment is demonic. The environment is literally providing the evidence against the entity. And this is what the entity is going to be faced with in federal court. And I'm going to drain the pockets not only of speaker companies, not only is our Todd speaker and every group stalker employed by third-party speaker companies, they're going to federal prison. All right, they're going to be prosecuted for what is, let me be clear, this engineered light is a violation of your quiet enjoyment. The ongoing stalking by helicopters is a violation of your quiet enjoyment. The ongoing admission by that entity while you see flashing directed light, this is the ongoing admission by a demon-possessed population who engages in more terrorism, more sexual violence, more stalking behavior as you expose it. Because, all right, and this video is captured at June 9th, 2024 at 6:05 p.m. All right, and I will show you the next video. And this is the entity that is gang stalking me as evident through the supernatural occurrence of this engineered light inside of my bedroom flashing. And I'm just capturing, this is just a snippet. I have a body of evidence of stalking with light, which is a supernatural occurrence, which is psychologically harmful. And it is that which is coexisting with an ongoing campaign of psychological warfare in the mind of the targeted individual, where you are not hallucinating about strangers stalking you. You're not imagining it. And it is something that the entity is doing. Gang stalking you by strangers is a malicious tactic with regard to psychological torture, while the demon-possessed are also engaging in what is psychological warfare. It's a spiritual attack, okay, that the entity then uses to falsely depict your character. This is something that, again, terrorists such as Jason Isaac Fields is engaging in, while I still remain subject to gang stalking, and this is somebody that is still engaging in what is a defeated effort. But it is relevant to what shall be restraining every documented terrorist from ever being in my presence, okay? It is, this one is documented. I'm going to take it out of screen, full screen in order for you to see what is documented. This is June 23rd at 10:15 a.m. you are looking at the light source that you can see through the top of the windows of the third-party group stalkers that are living at Alvarado Gardens. While the light source, by the way, is outside above my living room window, this is at the same time seen above the parking lot vehicles, which again, the light source moves as I move. While I am now at the back portion of my apartment, the light source, which is not the sun, which is how I'm able to capture it at the same time over my head at the DMV in Glendale, while it's also remaining outside of my living room window at the same time, which is impossible. That's the evidence of stalking with a light source, which is demonic, and the demon possessed are group stalking. That's the demon possessed group stalking in a helicopter in that specific environment, which is not at the same time seen through on any vehicle windshield parked at Alvarado in Los Angeles or anywhere else, while it is, as a matter of documentation, on the same exact day at the same time over my head while I am on the property of 8303 Haven Avenue, the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. The entity is engaging in what is stalking with helicopters, which is terrorism, and that's why everybody who lives at Alvarado Gardens is going to federal prison as well, because this is the intolerable facilitation. This is where I'm showing you the engineered light. The pattern of the blinds is appearing above, the blinds are closed, and the fake sun is outside of the living room window. So this is breaking down not only the illusion where the entity is engaging in what is appearing and disappearing. This is called terrorism via directed light, and all the people of the state that live at Alvarado Gardens are going to federal prison. These are group stalkers that are engaging in thinking that they won't keep you under surveillance while living at the property. No, you're going to federal prison for that. And this is the evidence of their demon possession and the evidence of the demon possession of Dominic Choi and the men and women of the LAPD. They're demon stalking in helicopter, which is a specific environment. Heavy helicopter activity documented on this day in 2022, where the entity kept a fake sun over my head, where there is no position where the sun is going to create any sun living room at any time, while that which is supposedly the sun is over the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, while I am capturing that which is appearing as the sun in this manner directly over my head, which is speaking to the pattern of conduct. This is demonic activity, and this entire population is under no circumstances in the same environment. I have captured this piece specifically of documentation on more than one occasion regarding all right, this is documented on June 23rd, 2024. As you can see, the documentation of the fake sun is over the living room side of my apartment at 10:15 in the morning. And as you're also aware, all you have to do is pay attention, on 6:25 p.m. on May 29th, the fake sun is outside of my bedroom window of the same apartment. Okay, so this is same time of year, June 23rd and May 29th. I'm documenting, again, just to remind you, look here. Where you're looking at the light that was appearing above my head, just like you see here. And that is engineered light. This is impossible. The engineered light has nothing to do with the fake sun, and the fake sun is indeed a fake sun. That is not the natural environment where it is present, and it remains over me, where I am clearly identifying what is a population that is gang stalking together, and that is a satanic iteration. While the fake sun is outside of my living room window, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 hours later, it's over me inside of the same apartment outside of my bedroom window. Documentation of the fake sun, and a distinct method of documenting and exposing where surveillance is underway of a satanic nature by an entire government that acts with the population, the people of the state, who gang stalk in apartment buildings, which is what I'm subject to in Los Angeles. The fake sun is outside of my same bedroom window. That is at the same exact location. That is rising on one side and setting on the opposite. That sounds familiar. That's what's happening at Woodside Senior Apartments, where the Ontario Police is gang stalking. The City of Ontario is gang stalking, just like the City of Los Angeles and the Los Angeles Police Department. Gang stalking, engaging in psychological warfare while stalking with light, a supernatural occurrence, distinct from the gang stalking, which is evident under the fake sun. Okay, so this is the entity that is doing so at 10. So let me show you the next video, which is documented in July. Let me take it out of full screen. And this is at 5 a.m. Again, more documentation showing what has absolutely nothing to do with the fake sun, engineered light that is present 24 hours a day. This is terrorism while engineered light was moving across my bedroom wall. And as you can see, there's nothing that's going to create light activity like you see now. He's going to federal prison. That's impunity. He's going to federal prison. And let me be clear, the terrorist leader, Dominic Choi, is not separate from what I just showed you right now. And that's exactly what you see occurring during the day. That's what all of the people of the state that live around Alvarado Gardens, they're going to federal prison. Understand why they engage in monitoring. They're engaging in a mission that you're violating privacy. The entity knows exactly who I am. They know exactly what I'm doing. That's why you see them flying in circles over the bank that I am a patron at. That's why you see them flying over the Walmart where I am a consumer. All right, this video is documented at 5:21 in the morning on July 1st, 2024, where you are looking at what has absolutely nothing to do with the fake sun. It's another supernatural occurrence regarding light manifesting in the dark, and it is the shape of my windows that I'm looking outside of, and no vehicle lights where I'm on the third floor. Merely looking at it is creating that sort of light activity above and into the depths of the apartment. That's the pattern of conduct, though. I've documented plenty of times, even under the fake sun. The fake sun is the creation of an illusion, and it's an unintelligent one where you are supposed to associate the light that's all over everything, even the ridiculous light activity that creates my shadow above my head, that has light across the ceiling, light streaming through the apartment. You're supposed to associate that with the sun as sunlight. It's highly unintelligent, and clearly Satan and the demon possessed never sought to or anticipated scrutiny, basic common sense scrutiny, which again science is rendering this irreconcilable with what the sun does, how the sun behaves, nor also what sunlight does and how sunlight behaves. This engineer light that's happening inside of my dark apartment is the same pattern of conduct of stalking with light. Okay, this is documentation that is captured at Woodside Senior Apartments. The same pattern of conduct. I want to be clear. The more than one occurrence is the definition of a pattern. This is a pattern of what is a supernatural occurrence. This is the definition of, this is a pattern of what is a supernatural occurrence at more than one venue. Okay, that is well beyond any reasonable doubt with regard to identifying surveillance, which is satanic, identifying demons who are engaged in what is identified as gang stalking, and reliance of what is this supernatural environment where they are maintaining that means of surveillance. That's why you have the engineered light. That's why you have the fake sun, because they're unintelligent. Okay, because the fake sun, as you can see at 5 in the morning in the dark, you're still being gang stalked in the engineered light, which is present. That's how I also have multiple shadows in the dark, and it has nothing to do with the light fixtures on the building outside. Okay, the entity is doing so while psychological warfare is underway. And it is not actual mental illness by the ordinary targeted individual. You are being attacked in your mind, and it's a spiritual attack, and it is of Satan. Okay, I'm going to take this out of full screen, and so that you can see this also documented October 3rd, 2024. The fake sun is outside, and it has nothing to do with the engineered light inside of the apartment.
And threaten your life. The population is keeping you under surveillance while you're home, while you go to work. That is the exact same P.O.C. That's why she's going to federal prison, okay? That's what the entity is. I'm glad you see that, because that's exactly what's happening in the living room while the entity is keeping me under surveillance under the fake sun. And the entity does so to the demise of the whole entity. The demon in apartment 55, you know exactly what he's group stalking while you saw that impossible light move across the building right now.
All right, that is engineered light, the pattern of the blinds. Let me just break this down. You're looking at the pattern of the blinds here.
And
the pattern of the blinds is here, and then you have what is the engineer light that comes that is dynamic, and it begins fanning across the wall. And this is again the demon possessed are hostile, and that hostility, and also as you're going to prosecute it, reasonably construed as you would analyze any stalker's behavior, the stalker is engaged in more gang stalking with engineer light and possible light activity as you point out their satanic tactics of what is maintaining surveillance. And that is also what's happening real time in this video, where this has nothing to do with sunlight. And outside of the window is the patio.
Living room while the entity
is the patio that is covered and is covered
is keeping me under surveillance.
So you can see this is the distinction between what is the shade and the sunlight. This is a covering that's over, and this is light that's manifesting inside of a building, inside of an apartment building. It not only is that impossible, but then the fanning of the engineered light, as I pointed out, that's the pattern of conduct
under the fake sun. And the entity does so to the demise of the whole entity. The demon in apartment 55, you know exactly what he's group stalking.
There is no iteration of the natural environment. That's a supernatural occurrence, and it's called stalking with light. It's very demonic. This is relevant to what is psychologically harmful to any person that is also simultaneously subject to what is the attacks of your mind, psychological warfare, spiritually attacking you in your mind. Okay, that's not mental illness as it is defined. All right, that is you are perfectly fine, capable of being attacked in your mind, suffering no mental illness whatsoever. Okay, so this is the pattern of conduct, and this is documented on February 28, 2025 inside of the same apartment. This is within the pattern regarding what is supernatural, which is speaking to what is directly intentional with knowledge and underway as an entire elaborate system from LA County to San Bernardino County, from LA to Ontario, amongst the LAPD to the Ontario PD, the people of the state, gang stalking alike. proven through what is the maintenance of this engineered light. This is a criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. It is psychologically harmful, and it is the proof of that which the entity is doing psychologically, spiritually attacking you in the mind and engaging with gang stalking you in manners that are psychologically torturous, psychologically harmful.
All right, here is more evidence that's serving to prosecute the people of the state, third-party AVANATH Capital Management. So this is engineered light that's appearing at a tremendous distance from the covered patio. Okay, and the fake sun is outside above the same apartment building where I'm located. And so as you can, well, you can't see, here's my hand. The light is shooting across horizontally, and it's creating shadow inside of, my shadow is appearing inside, and it's a magnified size of my hand. This is speaking to criminal surveillance that's happening at what is not a private residential area or property. It's a facilitating venue for surveillance. And this is also documentation of what is malice and impunity by a corrupt company, including RGS that comes onto the ground, gang stalking with the company, the employees, the residents, and the city of Ontario, the population itself that's coming onto the grounds, gang stalking as one entity. And the fact that I'm capturing ongoing iterations of impossible light activity, the more that I document, yeah, that's P.O.C. I've documented this before. This is the conduct of the demon-possessed, okay? That's the conduct of the demon-possessed. This is going on the internet. That's speaking to stalkers, including RGS. It has nothing to do, like I stated, has nothing to do with the fake sun. Okay? The fake sun is indeed over the property. These are just...
Sorry, I did that because I want to pause. As you can see, the structure of the patio, the light that you saw in the previous video that is appearing inside of the bedroom is absolutely impossible light activity. This is a covered patio. It's not sunlight under no circumstances. And even if it wasn't a covered patio, this light that's appearing upright on the inside of an apartment, then fanning across the wall, that's a supernatural occurrence. It is inherently psychologically harmful. While the government is also engaging in what is satanic. This is secretly, in other words, secretly targeting someone in the chambers of their mind in order to provoke to the point to where you could define their behaviors as that which is indicative of mental illness. That's not mental illness as it is defined. That is psychological torture. And human beings they should be expected, you shouldn't even be subject to it, but a human being is going to react to that. The ordinary targeted individual is going to respond when you are subject to this sort of inhumane experiment in the mind and in the life of an American citizen, where you are not in fact diagnosing any such mental illness. All right, so I want you to see this, and I'm going to end this video here because I just want you to see the light source.
Distinct methods of recognizing criminal surveillance and its terrorism. And this is a sex offense. They're monitoring what my genitalia between my legs while this is underway, and an entire complex is full of sex offenders over 55. This is what Tracy Banks is practicing. She worships my genitalia as an incestuous sex offender, gang stalking her daughter, targeting her daughter with an entire government in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping me, and as a demon-possessed gang stalker, engaging in psychological torture and doing so as a blood relative, maliciously targeting me, and also engaged in criminal defamation. This is the fake sun that's outside. Has nothing to do with the engineered light that you just saw inside, and dynamic engineered light. Linda Reyes is going to prison. That's what this evidence is also showing you. She's going to prison. And these are the people that are stalking. That's right. RGS, federal stalking time.
Now, that is also psychological torture to engage in this program of gang stalking and doing so in the malicious manner, such as just coincidentally being in that environment, not acknowledging the target individual, which you don't have to. The entity is engaging in this, and that is also psychologically harmful while the demon-possessed are maliciously stalking as a population and engaging in the passive-aggressive manner in doing so. This is the significance, the purpose of having strangers who know exactly who you are, by the way, and the proof of that supernatural ongoing occurrence, which is a pattern, which is something that no person can make up. It is an impossibility that I would have a consistent body of evidence referring to the supernatural. This is understanding who are actually psychopaths, the gang stalkers themselves. It is currently, as you can see, 7:52 p.m. And this is what I wanted to provide video documentation in reference to the pattern of conduct as I'm documenting and showing that pattern as I remain subject to it in the state of California. It's a statewide POC, and it is also that which is occurring as I'm showing you the entity that is gang stalking in two different locations where the sun is not at the same time remaining in alignment to me as I document days ago at 8:18 p.m. and the video ends at 6:25 p.m. The fake sun is still in perfect alignment with me at this same apartment in Ontario where I currently am remaining subject to this surveillance system, which is an egregious sex offense committed by a government and all of the people of the state, and also have this environment as I documented same time of year, okay, May 20 2024, May 29, 2024, where there was at no point at any time of year, not in February, March, April, May, June, July, at no point while I'm remaining at Woodside does the sun deviate from remaining over me all day long. Okay? This has nothing to do with climate change. This is in no way addressed or even anything that is remotely close to what climate change tries to assert regarding the explanation about what's happening in the environment. It's not addressing it whatsoever. Climate change is absolutely relevant, and this is also relevant to what is the psychological warfare, the spiritual component to gang stalking, which is inherently psychologically torturous behavior committed by an entity. All right, it is the material for creating what are restraints to ban, that is banned under law, meaning you are subject to federal prison as a documented terrorist ever coming into my presence, having no authority under the law and no rights under the law. Okay, it is currently 7:54 p.m. and this is POC.